Hey, I'm Mark Lettieri, and you're listening to In Time.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the newly named InTime Podcast. This is season 2, and we're here with a new host, Amir, and of course, our incredible guest, Mark Lettieri, from the band Snarky Puppy, 3-time Grammy winners, of course, the incredible supergroup Fearless Flyers, and a pretty impressive session guitar career, composing career, if I do say so myself. It's an honor to have you on here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, dude.
How
Thanks
you
for
doing?
having me. Appreciate it. Sorry, say it again.
How are you doing in this quarantine time?
I'm all right. It's it's day by day, week by week, kind of
Yeah,
scheduling type stuff. I'm used to kind of knowing what I'm doing months in advance, but right now it's sort of like, what are we doing tomorrow? Which is kind of cool in a way and sort of odd. But it's been good, man. I've been home and being dad and doing that whole thing but working hard. I mean, I'm working hard on that front, but then also trying to stay busy and I've been doing a lot of things like this and some clinics and live stream stuff and a little bit of lessons here and there and trying to kind of maybe practice more than I used to. so that's it's a change. I'll roll with it. I'll figure it out. I'll hopefully be around after this is all over. I don't mean that in like a morbid way. I just mean like, hopefully there will still be live music and records and all that sort of stuff once we all get back on our feet.
It's such a crazy time. Me and Amir ourselves, we study in Birmingham. We've had all of our gigs cancelled, and of course our university's been cancelled as well. We're studying online as well. So how are you finding it, Amir? How are you dealing with it all?
Yeah, no, I think it's unique, isn't it? Sort of everything that the whole world sort of going through it at the same time as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool the fact that if the fact that we can do this, we can still get on with things now. If the same thing happened about 20 years ago, I'm pretty sure it would have been a much more different reaction.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's like, what if this had happened before the internet? What did I don't know. It's interesting. Well, I guess it did in the sense in the 1918, sort of right around after World War One. So who knows? I mean, people made it through that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. No, I think there's got to hold on to that sort of optimism.
Humans figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
So
I guess we'll get on to talking about music. So we're like, I mean, what sort of stuff you listen to lately?
What have I been listening to? I'm trying to think the last. It's all over the place, really. I think the last album I purchased was not too long ago. Was Pantera's "Cowboys from Hell." It's awesome. But we listen to stuff at home a lot, just kind of as a family. I put on a Van Halen vinyl, "Women and Children First," the other day, and my daughter went nuts. So it's like, that's a good sign. So I'll do that. I'll throw on, I'll listen to some jazz while we're cooking or something. And I think it's interesting now listening to music in this particular time frame is more based around my family listening to get all together rather than like me on a plane with my headphones listening to an album or something like that. So I'm trying to think of some new stuff though that has come through. A friend of mine, Becca Stevens, put out an album, which is really cool. So we've been listening to that a little bit around the house.
Becca Stevens, the vocalist.
Yeah, the singer-songwriter. Yeah,
I've just been working with Jacob Collier recently. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so she did an album that she's got like 50 guests on it. I mean, it's like a million people played on. I played on it. Corey Wong played on it. Bob Lanzetti played on it. Mike League, Justice Stanton, like a lot of snarky guys, and then other people from Jacob and I'd have to go down the album credit, but there's like a ton of people, so it's cool. A lot of vibe and sound, and of course, I think David Crosby's on it. So it's cool. It's a cool record. And that's kind of a lot of where my listening is. It's like it's either I keep digging into the classics of like a band like Pantera or whatever that influenced me, but are sort of legendary. There's always new stuff you can find about all these old groups, by the way, or like new stuff that my friends are doing. You know, I'll listen to that, and then you know, a lot of it is just like practical gig-based stuff. Like I do a lot of sessions at my home studio here, so that's kind of the stuff that I listen to, you know, because it's what I have to work on, and thankfully it's all cool.
How often do you go back and listen to your older stuff, like
my stuff,
Snarky stuff, or
every now and then? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't do it a lot,
yeah.
but it's cool, you know, because it's good as an artist to just think about where you've been and what you've done different, or you know, and it's the things you could have done different are obvious. So I kind of don't dwell on those much, but yeah, I will go back and listen to like my first 2 albums or something, or like well, sometimes I'll have to go listen to old Snarky Puppy stuff because I have to learn it for a tour.
Yeah.
But and then that's fun because a lot of the really early stuff I didn't play on, and so it's kind of neat to hear the band before a lot of the current members had a hand in the sound, you know. But it's good, you know. I remember the other day I put on a record from an old rock band I had like right out of college, and just to hear it, and it, like, you know, it actually kind of was pretty rad. like there was actually some pretty rad stuff on there. No one, you know, you guys will, I'll never tell you who it is or whatever, but it's kind of cool to see, just to kind of listen to myself and be like, you know what, no matter how hard I try to not do what I do, I'm still going to do it in some way, shape, or form. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a different player on each record, but I'm still kind of the same player. I think that kind of stuff is established as soon as you pick up an instrument.
No, it's definitely like,
I mean, that you like, I bet if I went and listened to recordings of myself when I was 14, I'd probably hear stuff that still sounds like me now in some way, you know, like that. Your DNA on your instrument is established as soon as you start playing. I think there's, you know, you can mold it, but you can't completely change it.
Would you say, you know, growing up being a guitar player, would you say your influences have changed? Like you just said, different records, it's almost a different player, but you know, you've always got those things that you return to. You've always got almost like, you know, your signature moves. So would you say there's any guitarists that off the top of your head that you could name that have inspired you as of recently?
Well, I mean, I still, like I said, I still go back to the players that inspired me at the beginning, but like I said, I'm inspired by my friends. It's the same thing as far as like listening to current music, as a lot of it is just stuff that my friends make, and so a lot of my friends are great guitar players, and we don't play anything alike, you know what I mean? Even fellas that we might share a somewhat of a similar approach, the end result is totally different. I mean, and you know, they're all the peers that we all know and love, you know, Andy Wood, Isaiah Sharkey, Ariel Posen, you know, Corey, who, I mean, I'm trying to just start naming all my buddies, you know. A close friend of mine here in town, Noel Johnston, he's a great jazz instructor. I have a friend here, Leo Sines, who's an incredible R&B guitar player that, you know, I've learned a lot from. And you know, now I feel like I'm going to probably be leaving some people out, but you know, they're like, my influences now are my buddies, like people that I can call up and we'll talk about football and not guitar, you know what I mean? Like that's important to me, you know, having positive musical relationships where you know, you can take from each other, you can learn from each other, you can push each other, but you're not trying to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a competition or anything like that, because that's silly. So, yeah, you know, yeah, that's the answer to that question. Okay, who are you guys listening to?
I've been listening to loads of. I think I've been listening to a lot of. I've gone back to the D'Angelo album, Voodoo.
Yeah.
I've just started spinning the PJ Morton record, Gumbo.
Oh, cool. Okay, I haven't checked that one out, but I heard about it.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
Great. He's an incredibly talented guy. He plays in
Oh,
Dallas every now and then. Yeah.
wow, yeah. I really, ever since I started listening to him, I'm just thinking I've really got to check him out live now.
Yeah.
I think those are the two main albums I'm sort of spinning right now.
Great. What about you, Joseph?
For me, I guess recently I've been checking out a lot of Martin Miller.
Yeah, Martin. Sorry. Forgot Martin. We just spent a week together in Germany in the studio. And I forgot.
I was going to get onto that because I think I've known Snarky Puppy for years and I've always been a fan. But like when I really became a fan of you personally is like checking you out. I think I first saw you on Tim Pierce and Pete Thorne's our show, which is a great video. But then as well as that, I love the Martin Miller studio sessions that he does. They're so great. It's just like I'd love to know what it's like to work on those because obviously you posted on your Instagram the other day one of the solos which was fantastic. It's like how does that go about working with Martin?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well, that's the running joke. It's Mark posts his solo with Martin on Monday. And Martin loves it. I don't know why Martin doesn't post his own. Well, because he posts the whole video, I guess. That's because it's his video. Do what he wants. It's cool. I mean, I didn't know Martin prior to that, actually. I knew of what he was doing, and I had seen the videos like with Paul Gilbert and Andy Timmons and Josh Smith and those guys. And so I was like, wow, this is some seriously high quality stuff. And I think what he's doing where he's playing covers, but they're not like exactly the same, but they're similar enough to where it's not totally unfamiliar. And I think that what's cool about it is that it definitely gives an off the cuff vibe of like, these guys just got in here and did this, which is essentially what we did. I mean, there's like kind of rehearsing, but we're not like nitpicking every little detail. It's like, let's play the tune, see what happens, And so that's why it kind of feels like the original, but it also feels like, 5-6 guys in a room just rocking out and then going and eating schnitzel and drinking beer because it's what we did. And so it was really fun. So he just sent me an email like, hey man, would love to do one of these with you. And it I think it happened like 9 months, almost a year after the initial email, just because of scheduling with because everyone in that room does 10 million other things. It's not that they just sit there all day and do these, like they all have careers outside of the Martin Miller session band. So we had to get scheduling together. And then we kind of talked about some tunes to do. And I was cool with all of them except Purple Rain. That was the one that I didn't really want to do. Because, Prince is a very important artist to me, and I just wanted to make sure that whatever we did was done right. And I was I was a little worried that it was going to turn into a guitar fest.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's 2 guitar solos on it, but I think we accomplished the goal of doing the song our way without kind of taking the focus off of the original composition. Because that's, as soon as you step into Prince territory, it's like, you better have something going on. So hopefully maybe people disagree with me and they thought it was blasphemous or something, but whatever, everyone has their own opinion. But that was the one tune that I was a little bit on the fence about doing, but I'm happy with how it turned out, of course. And so, but yeah, like I said, we get in there and it's like, let's do, Easy Lover. All right, okay, ready, go. And then we play it and then we do a couple, we'll do a couple takes. And then kind of pick the best one and move on to the next one, so it's fun. They're great band.
So I guess, you can be found across so many different mediums, just being in so many different projects and so many different, sessioning with so many different musicians. So Joe just mentioned he found you through Tim and Pete's show.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I actually found you was someone sent me your Spark and Echo album.
Oh, cool.
The Montreal track off of it, I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
That was the one song that sort of hooked me into listen to the rest of the album, which is pretty cool. And then I happened to find watch your I think it was a Peace House session.
Yep.
But like it must be pretty fun. Like, so finding within your own like solo project, what was it that sort of drove you to just say, oh, I've got this thing with Snarky Puppy. I think it's time to start doing my own sound.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. That was the plan from when I was 14, was to in some realm write my own guitar-based music. I didn't know what that meant or how it was going to pan out, but a lot of my influences were people that did that, early on. Everyone from Satriani and Vi to Larry Carlton, Robin Ford, John Scofield, players who were their own artists as guitar-led entities, right? I think it just timing-wise just sort of happened. I think what it was is because like the first record I did was I recorded it in 2011, and I had only been in Snarky Puppy, I think maybe for about 2.5, 3 years at that point. And at least my exposure with the band, I mean, we had never been to Europe. I had never really played outside of Texas, Louisiana, a couple Mississippi, a couple places in the South, so I hadn't even really toured a whole bunch with the band at that point. And I had some songs that I was always working on tunes. The rock band that I was talking about earlier had broken up at that point. So I knew that wasn't going to happen. And back then Snarky Puppy was just another thing that I was doing. I would be hesitant to say that it was a priority. And I don't mean that in a negative sense, but it's like, I didn't know what was going to happen with the band. I don't know if anyone did. I don't even know if Michael did. I was still very much wanting to have like a pop touring gig or something like that, or do more session work or freelance sideman stuff. So I just had my hand in a bunch of different cookie jars, just kind of see what was going to happen. And one of those was just like, well, I've got these tunes that I wrote. Let me call my buddies and we'll record them. And that's kind of how the first 2 records were about. And then by the time the third one, Spark and Echo, that you have, came out, Snarky Puppy had sort of gone to a place where we had attention. We had, the recognition, whatever you want to call it. And so I think people thought that like everyone then all of a sudden was like, oh, now we're going to be solo artists because people know who we are. You know what I'm saying? And in a sense, I mean, you would be correct to assume that because there's attention on everyone in the band. So if people have their own projects, they're going to, pursue them. I think a lot of us were just pursuing them sort of simultaneously with Snarky Puppy. And I think, but when Spark and Echo came out, it was sort of obvious. It was like, okay, I've got a catalog now. I think it's time to maybe start making it a thing, and Mike, to his credit, has always been on board with everyone's individual pursuits, like from the beginning. Yeah. I think he put together the band hoping that it would get to a point where guys could, branch off and do things and be sustainable with those things. So yeah, that's just kind of how it worked timing wise, I think. But the seed had been planted in me from the beginning. I think as soon as I heard Joe Satriani's Extremist record, when I was 14, I was like, oh my gosh, I think maybe I should do this or something like this, not that, because I can't do that. That's what he does. But I need to, this whole concept of what he's doing is like really resonating to me. And one of these days I'm going to figure out how to have my own version of that, so.
I mean, it's really cool hearing the fact that, like, I mean, I guess it's to be expected, but you've all got that mutual respect for each other in Snarky Puppy, that you all understand that you want to pursue your own thing as well as being Snarky Puppy.
Right.
But with the trio you've got like a whole host of musicians you could choose from. What were you looking for in the people you wanted to gig with?
Right.
Or, write your solo stuff with?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a sound I hear in my head every time I create a tune, and thankfully I live in a place where the players can do that sound very, very well. It's a mix of rock and funk and soul and jazz and stuff, and the players here get that. They can kind of speak all those languages. And when I say here, I mean the North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth metroplex area. It's a very diverse music scene, and you know, all the players in Snarky Puppy are people that can handle lots of different things. That's kind of, I think, what makes the band so special, is that we are malleable and sort of chameleonic in a sense, while still kind of maintaining a sound, you know. So, you know, the qualities that I look for in bassists, drummers, keyboards are kind of all the same. You know, you've got to understand the hardest. I think it's probably the hardest music for drummers. And not because there's stuff that's in odd time signatures, because my stuff's not that crazy. We're not like rocking out, and I mean, some of this stuff is a little, I mean, there's, you know, but it's not bananas, like nuts all the time. A lot of it's in 4. The hard part about it is the rock stuff needs to feel like rock. The funk stuff or the R&B bass needs to feel like that. And I think sometimes, you know, you gotta, for drummers, it's a challenge to speak both of those languages authentically. And so I look for players that can do that. And same goes with bass or what have you. I use keyboards sort of sparingly, kind of. I mean, I use them more in the studio as textural stuff. And I'm going to start touring with keyboards soon, but I mean, you know, it's kind of the same. Like, you gotta kind of get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, you know, sorry, that's my kid. She's probably, I don't know what's going on out there, but you know, I generally sort of have a sound for drums and bass primarily, and that's where the, you know, players need to focus on. So, but I've been blessed that everyone here knows what to do. I don't know anything.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. You mentioned, obviously, you know, the projects that you're working on cover so many different genres, from rock, you know, R&B, soul, jazz, and all of that stuff. So if you're composing or writing material, how do you differentiate between what project it's going to go for? You know, is it going to be a Snarky Puppy part?
Yeah.
Is it going to be solo, or, you know, Fearless Flyers? How do you know?
Right. That's a good question. Well, you know, it's interesting because with both the Flyers and Snarky, there's kind of like especially with Snarky, it's like, you know, the 17 guys in the band, they all write songs. And so if I bring in a song, we'll try it, but there's no guarantee that it'll either work or, you know, make the record or whatever it is. So there's a little bit more of a gatekeeping process, sort of, so to speak, like, because it's just, I'm not in charge. You know what I mean? So like, at this point, if there's something that I really think is cool, I'll probably just keep it for myself. I mean, and you know, and I don't know if that sounds weird or whatever, but it's like, I have an outlet now for this music. I can make records, I can play the gigs, you know, more or less people will respond to it, come to see the performances, check out the music. You know, I feel like I have a voice that's being heard, so I need to continue with that. And you know, every now and then I might think, well, maybe this is really a kind of a thing for Snarky, but like, there's too much going on here for this to work as a 3-piece or something. And you know, so that might be kind of a telling point, but I don't know. I'm not really comfortable writing songs for Snarky Puppy, really. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a different, maybe it's just my own personal problems with myself as a writer or something, but I think I put myself in a headspace of like, this needs to work for everybody all the time, and everyone needs to have exciting things to play, and then the song probably gets overwritten. You know what I'm saying?
It must work out quite well, though, the fact that, like, in a way, it limits what you have to do, because you don't have to make the hard choices anymore. You just have to sort of, well, you've got your role, haven't you, within Snarky Puppy?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not really pressure on me to contribute beyond what I already contribute. And so in that sense, like if I do, and I've only written 2 songs for the band. I wrote this one song, Hefe, that turned out great. And then I wrote another tune that we tried for Immigrants that didn't turn out great. And that's just the way it is. And but in between all that, I wrote a whole bunch of songs for my own stuff. So it's kind of like, well, if I got something if I have an outlet for stuff that's passionate to me, I'm going to follow that. And, this kind of stuff, it's like, it'll happen the way it's supposed to happen. The songs will get placed with the situations that they're meant to be placed with. I think it's anytime I try to force something is probably where stuff gets messed up. And that might've been what happened with the tune that we didn't use. It's just, I probably tried to force it into working with Snarky, and it just didn't. That's okay. Maybe it'll come out in my solo thing. I don't know. Who knows? Or it'll just sit in a hard drive somewhere.
I mean, last year was quite hectic as well with your solo. You had your solos, music. You had Snarky Puppy, Immigrants, and you also had Fearless Flyers' second EP come out, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess we've spoken about Snarky Puppy and your solo stuff, but with Fearless Flyers, I mean, that's a crazy lineup in itself. I've been watching. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to come to UK at some point, but I've been watching videos of you guys playing on stage, and just sort of the stage setup in itself is just pretty cool. The fact that you've got that continuity from the EP design and just music videos and everything like that, it just sort of gets you way more into it. How did you guys come about? I mean, such a stacked lineup, consisting of, I mean, yourself and Wolfpack guys and Nate Smith as well. How did that come about?
A lot similar to Martin's thing. It was an email. I had met and played with Joe one time at a friend's gig in Denver that this singer Jans Ingber had put together like a super group kind of jam set and brought me and Joe in. So we had played together and got on great. But I got an email from Corey basically saying, hey, we have this idea. You on baritone, me on guitar, Joe on bass, Nate Smith on drums. Excuse me. And it didn't really say much about the music or what we were really going to do or how the songs were going to be written or anything. And so I kind of was like, hey man, what? Like, I kind of was like, I don't know if I want to really do this, like, cause I don't know what we're doing. And so we got on the phone and he kind of, explained it to me, and I felt kind of bad for being a little bit standoffish, so I said, okay, great. I think I get it. Let's do it. And that was kind of how it happened. We got in a room at this studio, and there, like, some stuff was kind of put together from Corey, kind of put together from Jack. And then other stuff was stuff we just sort of came up with there, or, one of the riffs that became Ace of Aces was an Instagram clip of me playing at this show with Joe from like a year ago. It was like a rhythm guitar solo or something. And we took a bunch of that stuff that I played and turned it into Ace of Aces, for example. And then, there's the tunes that are Wolfpack based that we screwed around. There's like Corey Wong tunes that we've messed with, so it all kind of comes from different places. And then, we, the aesthetic was something that was, Nate and I were like, we're going to do what? We're going to wear what? I have to play with a guitar taped to a mic stand. Like, it was a situation that I had no experience. Jack's crazy. He's a crazy person, but obviously it's worked out, it's the skeptic nature in me to be like, what are we doing? That's just me. And so I had to kind of put that aside and trust the vision, so to speak, but it's become a really fun thing. The bummer is we had gigs lined up for the summer that are just falling apart because of the whole thing. So, it'll happen. We recorded a third record in January, so that'll be out sometime this year.
I mean, what's the so you had gigs lined up for summertime? Was that primarily around the US?
Yeah, we had some festival dates. Two of them have been canceled. One of them still pending. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just the state of things, man. It's like, yeah, nope, ain't nobody gigging.
Everyone knows. Yeah.
I guess
You guys know how it is.
Yeah, we do. It's just the amount of gigs that have been cancelled around us. You know, everyone's playing. Everyone was so busy this year, and suddenly it's
yeah.
But like you said, it won't last forever.
Right.
Before we go on to a couple of questions that people have asked us to ask.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Just like to on your website you have a really huge like biography about all the things that you've worked on. The one thing that that really like caught my eye was the amount of like hip hop artists that you've worked with.
Right.
Eminem.
Well, the funny thing is how many of them I've never even met.
Oh, really?
But go ahead. Yeah. Or wasn't even in the studio. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, if you could tell us about that. What that's like. What involvement?
Yeah, sure.
With artists.
Well, kind of what I was saying is like a lot of that stuff I did here at my home studio. And I at the time didn't even know who the track was for. Like I think there's an R&B singer named, of course now her name is Keisha Cole, for example, R&B singer from the Bay Area that has put out a bunch of music, and I tracked on that record not knowing it was for her. Same thing with the Exhibit album. I think I did 2 songs. Actually, you know what? I think I did know that was for him. Well, no, maybe not. Because what it is I work with a producer from time to time named Symbolic One or S1. He's a guy in Dallas who's done all kinds of Beyonce and Kanye and Madonna and all these great projects. And sometimes I'll just go to his studio and I'll just play on beats. Or he'll email me a folder of beats, and I'll play whatever I feel needs to happen. And then, 6 months later, it's like, hey, that thing you did, it's on the Lecrae album or Talib Kweli or whatever. And so that's kind of cool. Like there's that 50 Cent tune, which I did a million years ago. I don't even know if I knew who that was for when I went over and did it at his house. So it's kind of weird. Like, it makes it's me playing, like I'm not lying on the bio, it's me. But it's not like, I'm in this big studio with all these artists necessarily and doing all this, big Hollywood type stuff. It sounds that way, when you're like, oh, you played with so-and-so. It's like, well, from here, or from my producer's home studio. Which is how a lot of these records are made. And especially in that kind of world, with producers like that, they get these sort of libraries of tracks that they then shop to artists. And so that's kind of how a lot of that stuff happens. It wasn't like, hey man, we're doing the so-and-so session today, come over. It was like, hey, come over, I got some stuff we got to, let's work on. And so yeah, it's half and half. Sometimes I know who it's for. Sometimes I don't know who it's for, and am pleasantly surprised when I find out.
So I guess we've got. We'll just do some Q&A that some people have sent in. Got a question from Connor here. I'm gonna pardon my French, but how the fuck did this happen? So I think a lot of people, are surprised that Mark Lettieri replied to us.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, what were you up to when you got the message, Mark? Were you just like, was it just a normal day in the office?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't. This stuff's cool. This is, it's fine. This is cool. I like doing stuff like this. I don't totally. I'm only on Instagram occasionally. If I have to post something, or if maybe I'm checking out some of my buddies or something like that, or, talking trash on one of my friends' videos or something like that. So a lot of the instant message stuff, I just don't really, I can't keep up with it, but you guys caught me on a time when I just noticed it and was like, oh yeah, sure. So that's how it happened.
That's so cool to see. We were so excited when we got the message. Everyone started going crazy because we all attend the same music university in Birmingham. So
Cool.
all of our colleagues are
Yeah, right on.
huge fans of you. So
Thanks,
so
man.
cool to ask some questions. I guess
Okay.
I suppose we could probably wrap it up with we've got a question here. Have you got any advice for people trying to, like, you know, create their own original, unique guitar tone or their own sound? You know, as an original artist, composer, recording artist. Have you got any advice? You know, how to be original?
Well, I'm still trying to totally figure that out, but because I definitely hear a lot of my influences in my own playing and, you know, songwriting and stuff. But I think it's just a matter of maintaining a level of honesty with yourself, as far as is you have to ask yourself the question is, what I'm doing right now or playing or writing, is there enough of me in this and not somebody else? And that's a hard thing to kind of figure out and hold yourself to. But I think everyone's aware of their influences, and I think everyone's aware of what makes them different from their influences. So as long as you can really put the energy to focus on what makes you different, you can maintain that influence without it sounding like a copy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The other thing for me I noticed is that, like, anytime I would transcribe parts or solos or whatever, I might learn something note for note, and then I would forget it. and then just do my own thing. You know what I mean? So, like, you've taken it in, you've soaked in what's important about it to you, and then you just let it go. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times when I would jam over records, I would just solo over the top of someone else's solo. And, you know, just kind of treat it as like my band, you know, which that's not bad or anything. I mean, I wasn't like, you know, well, this was before YouTube. So I wasn't like recording it. Anyway, point being, I would just always try to take what spoke to me, keep it, and then shed everything, like get rid of everything else, so that hopefully there was my thing, whatever that was still kind of poking up above the rest. And you know, it's hard to do, but I think it comes with a certain amount of experience and maturity to just be like, okay, I need to stop sounding like this guy or girl or player right now, because, you know, here's a good question. I'll ask this. If your favorite guitar player asked you to come sit in with them tomorrow, could you play and have a musical conversation with them without sounding like them?
Wow.
Without trying to do their thing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if Jeff Beck or whoever was like, hey, come jam, could you play a gig with player A of your choice and have it sound like them and you, not them and a not quite their version of them? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, that's an interesting.
So I ask myself that question all the time. Like, if Jeff Beck called, damn it, I'd bring a Les Paul. I would not even touch the whammy bar. You know what I mean? You know, or if I did, I would. Well, I don't know. I'd probably pee my pants prior, so that would be a whole other thing. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I would really have to dig in deep and be like, all right, you can, you know, not that. And this isn't me saying I sound like Jeff Beck. That's not me. That's not what I'm saying at all. But he is a huge influence, to where I would have to shed that influence a little bit to make sure there was an appropriate musical conversation between the two of us that sounded like two different people.
Yeah.
And that would go for, I think that goes for any guitar player, probably some famous guitar players. If they all, you know, if they were like, oh man, I'm on stage with, you know, when Stevie Ray Vaughan was on stage with Albert King, I bet you he had to be like, man, this is one of my biggest influences. I gotta let him be him and me be me. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously hearing Albert King and Stevie's playing is very obvious, you know? So anyway, I'm gonna shed on that theory myself.
It's a great question, I guess. I mean, the honest answer is, yeah. I mean, it would be so hard to, you know, be yourself in that situation. So yeah. But you got, I mean, that's the real thing. It's like, okay, if I've
spent so much time studying this one player and learning from them. Like, that's great. That's awesome. Good. Do that. But if that player called you to play with them, how would you differentiate yourself? And that's where you have to understand, like, what makes me me? Right. So there you have it.
That's an amazing response, actually. I've got one last question. Hopefully it's a short one.
Yeah, all good. We're okay, I think, unless you guys have
so
I smell bacon, so I was like,
mate,
they're cooking in there. I know they do this to me. They're like, well, we're making bacon. And I'm like, well.
Perfectly. So you're meant to be coming to the UK in July.
Right.
I've got tickets to see you.
Okay.
I'm sure many others have as well. Any updates on what we're looking at for that situation? I mean, it's a few months away still, but
right. I don't have any updates. Let's just all pretend that it's still going to happen.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Worst case, we'll just come back later.
No, I look forward to it anyways.
Yeah. Well, and and thank you for getting the tickets and spreading the word. I mean, yeah, hopefully we can do it. But I want to make sure that we will get there at some point. If it's not this summer, maybe it's in the fall, or maybe we wait a year. I don't know, but it is what it is. So keep listening to the music. Get tired of it.
Oh, we will.
You'll want to come see it live, so it sounds different.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think we're good. Yeah. Guess we should leave you to go and enjoy your bake.
Oh, either way. Yeah, sure. Cool.
If you've got anything else, if you've got anything you'd like to say, or anything you'd like to plug.
I mean, hopefully I'll be able to do a second baritone-based record this year. That's kind of the first thing on my plate as far as creativity stuff is concerned. So look out for that. Other than that, I don't know. See you on the interwebs, I guess.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. It's great talking with you.
Honestly, it's been such an honor. So yeah, so cool. Everyone, like the video, check out Mark, and if you feel like it, subscribe to us, and share it. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
That's Mark.